Hi, Foxlings! Alright, so I promised in my New Year's video, well, I guess it was a promise, but I'm going to consider it a promise. I promised that I would talk about my story that I was working on. And I think I'm at the point now where I can, actually genuinely talk about it. I've worked out the main gist of the story, and if I do plan on, making it into something, I wouldn't want to just spoil it and all that kind of stuff, and then, well, what's the point of reading or viewing my epic story, or comic or whatever I choose to make it with. Alright, so let me get all set up and I'll be right back with you. I'm so unprofessional. I'm back. I got everything together. But a quick little tidbit of information. Viewer discretion is advised. I've never done one of these before, and I may or may not slip something that shouldn't be said at the story. So, yeah. There's that. Anyways, so starting off with the an introduction to the world. There are 3 main groups, I guess. We'll call them groups. So there's 3 main groups. There is the Corporeal Aliens, there is the Unenchanted Aliens, and there is the Enchanted Aliens. I'll say it in 10 seconds to keep it short. Alright, so, Corporeal Aliens. They are us, but 2 to 500 years in the future. They also have a bone to pick with the other alien types. Second, Enchanted Aliens. These dudes got them magical powers. They also are genderless. For the world setting, imagine a place that is in the 14th century. And instead of it being filthy and crowded and all that bad stuff, it is nicely cleaned and sanitary, and it's not crowded. You'd probably get somewhere close to the Enchanted Aliens world. Okay, moving on. Last but not least, we have the Unenchanted Aliens. As you can already guess from the title. Oh, yes, I love title. Anyways, as you can already guess from the title of what the aliens are called, they are not enchanted, aka unenchanted. But I digress. So, they do not have powers. They instead rely on their very highly advanced technology. Wowzers. And, yeah, that's kind of it. It's about them. Yeah, that's it. They're very boring. I don't know a lot about them. Nice. Alright, so now to get into a little bit more detail, since you've already been familiarized with the main idea behind each of the alien groups. So, for starters, all the souls and the spirits of each of the different groups have different purposes inside of the afterlife, or I guess different roles to play when they go inside of the afterlife. It's like a little fun fact, I guess. I don't know. So, the Enchanted Aliens, their E stands for immortality, aka they are reborn over and over and over and over and over, etc., until I guess they can't be reborn anymore. I don't really know how that would work. Corporeal Aliens stay more inside of the traditional heaven, I guess you could say, where they just stay in this one body of a place inside of the universe, and instead new souls are made instead of the old already existing ones, like the Enchanted Aliens. Another little fun fact about, I guess, souls in general, specifically directed to the Enchanted Aliens. If a soul possesses too much goodness or evilness, they will then be transported into an angel or a demon, and they will live out the rest of their life on the fantasy planet as a demon or an angel. And they will only have to commit either a very, very holy goodness thing for the rest of their life if they are a demon, and a very bad thing, I guess. Only bad stuff, I guess, technically, if they are an angel. I think that sounds pretty cool. and that's like how angels and devils are found. They can like interact with the like main people and stuff, but most of the time if you're an angel, people will avoid you, and I kind of like that, because usually angels are supposed to be, oh my gosh, angelic, whoa, I want to love angels, and angels are my best friend. But like inside of this world, it's like, oh my god, I see an angel, I am running the other direction. You know, like I feel like that's kind of cool. It's like an opposite kind of thing to what we usually have. Regardless, quite the bit about how exactly the main alien groups run. So I guess the next thing would be the characters that I am currently drawing and who they are and their non-spoilery roles inside of the story. A little side bit, I'm doing so many of these. There's actually 5 characters that I'm going to be talking about in this video, if I can fit them all. But I'm only drawing 4. I'll mention the 5th character when the character comes up. As well, since the Enchanted Aliens don't really have a concept of gender, they don't really have a concept of, like, pronouns either, so they just kind of use either names to describe the, like, people that they're talking to, or not people, aliens, or they just use, like, very gender-neutral pronouns, like, ze, them, or ze, zer. Make sense? I hope so. Yeah, that's, like, a thing. I'm just gonna be using the traditional he, him, and she, her, and they, them, and whatever pronouns, so that you don't get utterly confused, but just, you know, that's the pronouns that they would use, or if they don't know, then they would just use a name. So, yeah. I'll try to stick to the name, though, but if I have to, I'll use the pronouns, just so you know. So, starting off, the first character is Oscary. Now, Oscary's name sounds a little bit weird, but, like, trust me, it looks cool. So, we're keeping it. Anyways, Oscary is originally known as Oshawa, inside of the Corporeal world, as like a disguise, so that Oscary's identity would not be found out. So yeah, I'll put a picture on screen of how Oshawa looks like. Though, like, Oshawa is kind of like a one-off design character thing. It's still Oscary, just a disguise. So, in the role, Oscary is like a very mysterious character. Doesn't really known about Oscary's past. Oscary, oh my god, this name, bro. Why did I torture myself? Oscary doesn't really have any particular, like, knowingness about, I don't even know if that's a word, about Oscary's past, nor do any of the characters really do. And Oscary definitely doesn't let on as much as Oscary knows. So, yeah. Another thing is that Oscary inside of the story is, like, very, like, his personality, he, like, flirts a lot, like, a friendly way of flirting. And then Oscary also vivid relationships with the other characters. What I mean by this is, like, if you were to think of a character, like, when I'm actually gonna write the story, because I do plan on making it into something, but when I actually flesh out the story and how every single part would go, like, it would be very distinct. Like, when you think of a character, you'd also think of the relationship they have with Oscary, like, whether it is a positive, a negative one, or if, like, there's something more, or something like that. When you think of Oscary, you'd think of a very distinct character. The only other thing that I can think of talking about is the personality and the design. and also just Oscary every day in general. Okay, so let's start off with the design. Design doesn't necessarily reflect his personality. I mean, his personality is very bold, and he's very known to the characters that Oscary is an extrovert, loves talking to people, loves making relationships, and all of that stuff. His outfit, however, isn't necessarily extra or beautiful or stunning, or it's just very casual clothes, making you think, oh, just a normal, average, not interested in talking to other aliens. Elf. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, inside of the Enchanted world, there's like elves, people, and then like aliens, or monsters or whatever. And yeah, so I didn't really touch on it much because I didn't think it was important, but I guess I could, because I think that would help with understanding what I mean. So inside of the Enchanted world, there's like different what would you call them? Like different kinds of things you could be. For example, there's like elves, there's phoenixes, blah blah blah. So every single one of the like people looking creatures, they are all elves, or they are descendants of some sort of elf thing. If you are not a descendant of an elf thing, then you would be considered like, you know how we have like animals and pets and stuff? You would be kind of considered just a wild animal that roams free and stuff. And yeah. So Oscary, so there's like different elves, right? So you can be like an elf mix, or you could just be like a pure elf. So pure elves are called forest or flourish elves. And then if you're like a mixed elf, you would be whatever you are, and then you would have the resemblance of an elf. So you wouldn't really need to explain that. Like, let's say, for example, there's like some elf that's mixed with a phoenix, then they would be like a phoenix elf, kind of. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because I'm not explaining it further. Okay. Anyways, back to what I was saying about Oscary's personality. So, Oscary's clothing is very casual, very comfortable, allows Oscary to move very well, not really holding Oscary back from things. Like, if Oscary needed to climb a tree, Oscary could do that pretty good, rather than inside of like a non-stretchable material suit or something. Yeah, that sounded really weird. You get what I mean. Like, what do they use in suits? Whatever they use in suits that makes them not stretchable. So, on to, like, some of the things about Oscary. Like, I guess, interesting facts. All of the creatures inside of the, like, world that Oscary lives in, the enchanted, or fantasy world, all of the aliens are, what's the best way to describe this? Like, they don't eat the animals that I was talking about. Instead, they're like, they eat plants, so all of them would be herbivores. So, yeah, they don't eat anything that really comes from animals, because, like, they don't need to kill them like we do. So, yeah. Alright, moving on, because there's nothing really else to talk about with Oscary. Oh, wait, no, there is. The design, why I chose it. Okay. So, I always pictured Oscary with like a very green, natural kind of design. Something that would allow him to camouflage in his surroundings better. Because the fantasy world is very flat, lush, and lurid. And what was I trying to say? Flourishes in nature and all that good stuff. So, having green would be a benefit. I mean, if you're trying to hide from someone and they see like a green blob rather than like a bright red one or something, they'd probably think nothing of it if it was the green blob rather than a red blob. So, yeah, I mostly just decided it for like camouflage purposes. I also think that how my jacket just like looks in general looks kind of like elfy, because usually elves are depicted as like a very natural thing. They have a lot of like natural clothes, like they don't look like they've been manufactured inside of a big factory or something like that. And yeah, another big thing about a character is always the hair and stuff. And so for the hair, originally the only design I had for Oscary was Oshawa, which has like long, blonde to dark brown faded hair, and it's like a large flap thing that covers Oshawa's eyes, or eye. And then also there's a little tuft of hair under his ear, and then also like a big, huge, fluffy ponytail at the back of his head. And then for Oscary, I wanted to keep some of those design elements, but I didn't want to like keep all of them. So what I did instead was I gave him like a nice shaved side of his head where his bangs did not meet his face. And his bangs don't cover his eye. They just like cover his forehead like bangs do. Also has pointed ears in both designs, but the elf design, it's a lot more noticeable than Oshawa. And then there's just like a ponytail that sticks out from the back. And it's like pretty small. Wouldn't need a lot of hair to do it. So, yeah. It's also blonde. And the only other thing is the earrings, which I'm still not 100% sure I'd keep. If I were to make a comic, I'd probably forget about them, so yeah, but for the earrings, if I do decide to keep them, I originally put them because I thought it made the design look a lot more like, what would you call it? Like full, like there's a lot more. It's not just like very bare and minimal, which I mean, minimal designs are bad. I mean, Oshawa is just a sweater and jeans with like a ponytail, and it fades from blonde to dark brown, but not a very relevant character, so I guess it's okay. Kind of it. Just green eyes to match with the outfit that I chose for Oscary, and yeah, that's it. Alright, next character. Right, so next character, Kestrel. Kestrel was not in the original or first drawing that I did with the 4 characters that I was mentioning. Instead is in this drawing. That is how the design looks for Kestrel. Now, Kestrel is a very, well, similar to Oscary, loves like interacting with different aliens and making relationships and just like talking. Kestrel, however, unlike Oscary, has a very interesting design. Like, loves to change it up, do totally different outfits that are very like fancy, and a lot of them are like more feminine outfits, you could say, not really like masculine, like a suit or a tie or Like, more of them are, like, dresses or just, like, very fancy, I don't know, fancy stuff. So, I'm kind of drawing Kestrel inside of this particular drawing in, like, a pretty, like, casual, laid-back kind of outfit. Not really what Kestrel would typically wear if Kestrel was going out somewhere. Kestrel is also an elf. I'm not really sure if they're a mix or if they're something else, though. But yeah, I'll figure that out eventually. So, I'll show a couple pictures on screen of, like, the first drawing I did with Kestrel, which I literally fell in love with. I swear Kestrel is, like, such a pretty character. And, like, if I ever have a cool outfit, like, I can just plop it into Kestrel, and Kestrel will always look good, because Kestrel's colors are, like, literally good with everything, because it's so simple. So, Kestrel doesn't really have a main set of clothing, since the clothing just changes so often, like, every single time, I guess you could say. Like, every day it's a new set of clothing. Very fancy and, lots of detail and all that stuff. So, with what I can talk about in the design, the hair, which is always a big part of characters. So Kestrel has these, like, 4 distinguished hair pieces. There is 3 black ones and 1, like, bright red one. Instead of this drawing, it's more of like a ruby. I just did that as, like, a color choice so that it would fit a lot better with the drawing. But yeah, typically it should be a bright red. Kestrel also has bright red eyes to match with the hair, and the other side, Kestrel's left side, is like shaved with, like, a little diamond embellishment, I guess it would be. Yeah, I should really work on words. Also typically wears a red diamond earring, though not always, though it is a very common thing that you will see on Kestrel. If I did something, man, I should really work on a comic. That would be so much fun. Yeah, so Kestrel's personality, the relationship Kestrel has with, like, Oscary, it's definitely not a very good one. Oscary and Kestrel have history together, and they didn't come off on very good terms. They both kind of actively hate each other, but also at the same time, they would happily, like, work with each other if it means that a benefit would occur. Like, they would only interact with each other if there was some reason to it. Which, like, okay. Kestrel with the other characters is also very distinct, like, with the relationship that they have with other characters, but I wouldn't say it's very, it's not nearly as noticeable. No, not noticeable. It's not nearly as distinguished as Oscary's relationship with all of the other characters. Next character! Okay, so the next character I will be talking about is Colton. Now, Colton, originally wasn't a very, like, prevalent character. It was more of, like, a background character, but was always, like, the sense of logic. Like, if something was happening, Colton would probably be the one to question everybody, be like, is this really a good choice, though, that Oscary is making for us? Because usually Oscary is the decision maker inside of the group, the one that makes everything happen, and, like, if they have an important decision to make, Oscary would probably be the one with that decision, and then Colton would be questioning Oscary, like, is this really a good choice? There's also another character that would do a similar thing to that, but Colton would probably be the main one that does that. Colton also has a mad crush on Oscary, like mad crush. Okay, so unlike all the other characters, Colton is special because he's the only one that actually has a concrete gender. Since the Corporeal Aliens, us, really like gendering things and making things very distinguishable, noticeable, you know, what we like to do. I mean, we have full-on names, and pronoun everything, we gender everything. Colton is always a very angry little man. However, Oscary is around, which is like all the time. Colton does kind of try and impress and just be on like Oscary's good side. And I mean, it leads to some conflict and stuff. Like, even though I was saying originally Colton loves questioning, even though he does that, I mean, like, if he can be on Oscary's good side, he will try and take that. So that's another character, which I will be mentioning next, he usually questions. Colton, for his design, I thought of doing something a little bit, like, simple. Because Colton, like all the other characters, doesn't really care about fashion too much. Colton just wears whatever's comfortable, but it's not like a hoodie and like sweatpants or something. For his design, his clothing consists of a denim navy blue jacket, denim navy blue jeans, a red beanie, and like no pom-pom, and some like red sneakers. It's actually quite the basic design. His hair, I did long black with a bluish undertone, uncut hair. Now, why did I choose what I chose? So, I chose the hoodie, well, the absence of a hoodie, because before, since there was no Oscary, there was only Oshawa. Both Oshawa and the character I'm about to discuss next both had a hoodie, and if I were to do Colton having a hoodie, that would be kind of very boring, having 3 characters with a hoodie, and the last character I'm going to talk about is the only one with anything interesting. That would be very boring. So instead, I made it where a denim jacket was replacing that comfortable hoodie. For the hair, I just I don't really know. It just worked, honestly. I also put a red beanie on top of his head because he's one of those hat wearers that obsessively loves wearing hats. And I think it just really works. And for the shoes, Oscary. Colton also has red sneakers just to tie in with the red a little bit more. And then the rest is all just like kind of navy blue, denim, boring stuff. However, you may be asking, wait, why was there only Oshawa? Didn't you design Oscary first? And the answer to that is no. I think I've already mentioned this, but Oshawa did come first, and I was really in love with Oshawa, but like now that I look back at Oshawa, I'm like, oh my god, the design sucked. Anyways, so I used to have this really old, well, not really old, but it was old, okay? It was like quite a long time ago. And it was like an older plot, which I won't really get into detail here, maybe in another video, because this is already getting extremely long. But the main gist of it was like, instead of all of the aliens transported to the fantasy world where the majority of the story will be taking place, it was instead inside of the corporeal world and all the corporeal problems attached to that. And yeah, it was a mess. I really didn't like it. It was so like sad and edgy and like it was just ugh, like no. So yeah, you better be happy that I changed it.
or otherwise you would have had to deal with some sad, edgy story inside of a human world. So sad. Anyways, yeah. Next character. Destiny. Alright, so Destiny. I ended up drawing Destiny previously. I'll put a picture on screen of how that looked. It was inside of my New Year's video. It was like another speed paint. And on the character was mentioned as Sophie, but that was like kind of when I had my old plot, but I was like still developing a new. It was confusing, okay? So I went with the name Sophie for her before, but like now it's not Sophie. It's instead Destiny, because they actually have different names for like the different worlds as a better disguise. That's why Oscary was originally Oshawa, and Sophie is Sophie inside of the corporeal world, but inside of the normal world, or like her own world, which would be the Unenchanted Alien world with the tech and stuff, that would be Destiny, and then also Destiny for the fantasy world, because like they really couldn't care less if you're a human or whatever. The design. So the design is literally just a hoodie and like sweatpants. It's the most boringest design out there, I know. It's dark gray for both, and the only really color that she has would be the hairpiece that is a nice blonde. This character is the character I was talking about that loves to like question and stuff, and is literally always angry and like, yeah, you know, like that grouchy kind of mood all the time. Like literally is never happy, ever. Like positive emotions don't exist for this person or alien. I keep on saying person, they're aliens, bro. Like, come on now. Come on now, Fox. Is from the Unenchanted world. Why did I choose the design? Yes, why did I choose the design? I was, like, really into hoodies and sweaters, and I mean, I still am. Just kind of worked. Destiny's best friend is going to be the next character. Let me just say it's a one-sided crush. I won't say which character, though. You'll have to figure that out inside of the thing. But, yeah, you'll have to see which one-sided character crush it is. But, yeah, they're, like, the best of friends, Destiny and the next character I'm going to mention. Destiny only has, like, one eye showing. Destiny is, like, quite the logical thinker inside of the group. So, the hair flap. There is something mysterious under that hair flap, and I will not disclose what it is, because that is spoilery. La 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 la. Bestie time. Okay, so this is my favorite character, just to let you all know. Okay, so this character is Axel, Axolotl, or Ira, or Sam, depending on what you go by. Not what you go by. What world Axel is in, but yes. Just like the other character that I just mentioned previously, Destiny, Axel has multiple names too. Sam being the corporeal name, Axolotl being the full name, Axel being the shortened but like most used name, and Ira being the Unenchanted Alien name. Yeah, there's like lots of different names. So yeah, just get used to it. But you can just call this character Axel. Axel, I will put the design on screen right now. Has these beautiful little two sticky up bits inside of their head. They also have these like long bang side swept thingies, and then they have elf ears like an elf, but they are not an elf. They are an elf, but they're from the Unenchanted Alien world, but they're
it's confusing. If I finish this story, you'll figure out why. Typically, when I now draw Axel, there is like little space earrings, like stars, planets, suns, stuff like that, dangling from the elf ears Axel has. And then also, for the clothing I chose, Axel has this nice... Okay, this isn't about me. Why am I so mean? So, Axel has this nice little shawl, and it is held together by this circular button. Depending on, like, what shawl Axel's wearing, there's a couple different variations, but the button one is the most common one that you'd see, and the one that is being drawn inside of this drawing that I'm currently doing. Well, was doing. For under the shawl, there is a black, like just plain black or dark navy blue or dark purple, just like a dark color top. And then for the sleeves, they are striped black and white sleeves with fingerless dark colored gloves. And then there is a knee-high skirt, and yeah, that's kind of about it. Oh yeah, and then the boots. So like dark leggings. I haven't necessarily decided. I just usually draw them as just like dark black or like navy blue or, just a dark colored leggings. But in other designs, I have also done like striped leggings like the sleeve. So yeah, it just depends on what Axel's wearing that day. And then for the shoes, Axel has buckled boots, though there are a couple variations. There's ones with like little, just like the shawl. It just really depends on what's being worn. But yeah, usually it's just buckled boots with buckles on the top, right around where the cuff, I think it's called, where you'd stick your foot in the shoe, that part. Yeah. And then also another little thing, Axel has these very cute little ahos, I think they're called. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like these little two grass like things or something. They like stick up, and it's really cute, and I really like it. So for Axel's personality, Axel is a very friendly character, would definitely be the main character if I did something with this story, which I really hope that I do. Axel is a very joyful, happy, go-lucky character, and very naive as well, but does love like talking and just hanging out with people in general, so would be an extrovert. Is just like very naive, so could definitely be manipulated, hint hint, wink wink, inside of the story. With the relationships, Oscary definitely has a very positive relationship with Axel. I mean, from time to time, they may or may not get into a disagreement. I can't speak. Oh no, I am dying. But yeah. And also, I was mentioning a like crush or something of the sort. And yeah, you'll have to figure that out. Alright, Foxlings, if you have any questions or anything to say about this story, just leave it in the comments below. I'll try my best to answer the questions that you ask. Alright, so I will now be slideshowing all of the drawings that I have made from these speed paints. Bye, Foxlings, and cue the outro.